morning, everybody, and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Tonight we're going to be speaking all about successful single mums. Now, sometimes when women have children, they think their life is over and that their career will automatically come to an end. Now, motherhood is never easy, especially if the father isn't around and mum is left to make ends meet all on her own. But tonight, we have some mothers who are here to share their amazing stories that will inspire you. So if you are a single mum, you'd like to get in touch and share your stories, or you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. And if you want more information, don't forget, you can go to chrissybshow.tv and you've got all the links there to Facebook and Twitter and everything else. Well, my first guest tonight is Tabitha Chew. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
or Chew?
Yes, you did. Yes.
I said Chew.
Chew. No, Chew. Yes.
Chew. Okay. Hello. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
So you are a single mum. But tell us first of all, how was your career and your sort of work life before having a child?
Well, I was able to dedicate much more time to it. But no, really enjoyable and exciting. Just more of a social life, I suppose. And just as I say, you can give absolutely everything to it when you haven't got a child. So if you have to stay late, you know, or you can, I suppose you can be less ineffective because you've got more hours to play with and you can catch up and make things up. Whereas with a child, you have to finish at a certain point to go and pick them up.
So was your pregnancy planned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes, and yeah, it was. No, I was with somebody and we knew we wanted to be together. It happened. We wanted to be married. We wanted to have children. It happened much quicker than we anticipated it happening. Okay. So yeah.
So when you got pregnant, what was the sort of first thought in your head?
Do you want the truth? No, I was shocked. No, shock.
Okay.
No, I was very shocked. And yeah, that was the first thing really. And you know, naive as this may sound, thinking, how did that happen? But then sort of, I mean, I was 34, so I wasn't a baby, you know. It wasn't sort of, I mean, I'd done things, I'd travelled, I'd sort of partied and had a lot of fun. So I wasn't, and I was older, you know, I was mature enough to be able to cope with it. So, you know, it was excited after being shocked, very excited, very, very excited.
And when it all sort of started to sink in, did you sort of consider your career, your job, and think, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Did you have any plans?
No, I think the thing is that I think because I was that bit older, and friends were sort of starting to have children, a couple of friends did have children, I think that I very much felt like I was ready to do it then, and ready to have a bit of time away from work. And, you know, to be honest with you, at the time, you know, I sort of looked at it and thought, well, I'll have a few kids. I actually wanted to have about 4 children. Well, I'm one of 4, so I kind of thought, well, I'll go off and have a big family and take some time out of work, and then at some point sort of go back. That was the plan, but you know,
yeah,
it doesn't
work out
necessarily go to plan, does it? But yeah.
So you went on maternity leave. Did you actually leave the job completely, or did you?
Yeah, I worked up until the sort of well, really virtually up until the end, and then I had amazing energy actually throughout my pregnancy, so especially the latter part. So
you are quite energetic and bubbly actually. Just chatting to you before.
Well, no, it was good being pregnant. You know, you're healthy, aren't you? You can't sort of, so you're looking after yourself. So it was, so I worked pretty much up until the end, and then I had.
That's what you were doing. What job did you have?
I sell fireplaces. It's reproduction and antique fireplaces. So we have a shop in East Finchley, and we also at the time had a manufacturing outlet in Barnet where we were producing mantelpieces and stuff. So it sells effectively, but yeah. Okay,
so talk us now through sort of the transition from actually working, being a full-time worker, doing all your sales stuff, being you know, around people all the time, obviously because of the nature of your work, to now not being in that environment anymore and being at home now with the child.
Initially, it's weird because it's very strange. I mean, when I first had him, it was wonderful, and exhausting and all of the things you expect it's going to be.
Was your partner around at this time?
Yeah, he was still there. But it's even actually, I think whether you're married or not, it is a really tough time, particularly with your first child, and it's lonely. It just is because you're suddenly you can't just drop your keys and go and have coffee with a friend. You can't. You feel different about everything. You've got this big responsibility, and it's taking you out of an environment. I mean, for me, I was always out, always socialising, at work, sort of mucking about. You know, you're light, you're free, and then all of a sudden there's this big responsibility.
Is that scary for you?
It was. I don't think so much scary, but it was just different. And as I say, that you are suddenly, it's just you and your baby, and that I don't think people realise that it was lovely, and I loved it, and I sincerely hope to do it. I mean, I'd love to have another baby. It's not. I haven't been put off by it, but I don't think that people talk about how alone you can feel, particularly at the beginning, and acknowledge. You know, that's enough. Even if you've got lots of people around you, you are effectively on your own with the baby, in the house, especially in this climate and weather.
Did you ever talk to anyone about it, Tabitha, or did you keep it all?
No. I mean, I wasn't. It was this strange sort of feeling, and I still have it at times. I mean, for different. I actually have it bizarrely more now because I'm a single mum, and it's things like when he goes to bed in the evening. It's those times, sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, you have to be in because you're babysitting, but your child is asleep, so you're in on your own. You know, it's that same, and it's a sort of, I mean, it's okay, but I don't think, it's one of the things that people don't talk about in regards to being a mother, or that I wasn't, I was far more worried about having stretch marks, or that I was still going to feel sexy afterwards or feel like me, and I was worried about that stuff, and actually that wasn't that's not really the issue. It's I've spoken to so many mums. This is the first time I'm actually hearing this, and it's quite endearing actually that you're speaking about it, because maybe there are mums watching and they're thinking, my God, that's exactly how I feel, but I've never sort of expressed that to anyone. I do feel lonely, even though I'm surrounded maybe by family and friends, or I've got a partner even that's there, but I still feel alone. I feel weird, because it is a change. You have to change your whole routine, don't you? Well, the thing is that you get up in the morning and they're going off to work, and initially you used to think, oh well, I can now watch some daytime television, or I can, when the baby sleeps, have a bit of a chocolate bar and just relax on the couch. And at first it's exciting, but then after a while,
you're yearning for that. You really want that kind of me time before, don't you? But then you get sick of it.
Well, the fact is you're saying goodbye to your partner, who's going off and carrying on as normal as you were, and they're going off out into the world, and you're not, and it is quite a strange feeling that. And I think it's harder for women nowadays, because I think women are having children later generally, and so they've kind of less used to sort of being tied down, or they've had more freedom for longer, and they're more established within their careers, their social lives, their independence. So I think it's something that hits women harder now than it did ever before.
So how old is your son now?
He is nearly 5.
Nearly 5. Okay. So when did you actually break up with your partner?
Well, I think he sort of finally properly left when he was about 14, 15 months old. So
okay, so it's pretty early on,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah. And how did you deal with that? Because now it's like, okay, you've already felt lonely.
Yeah,
before when he was around. So.
Do you know, it was my worst nightmare in the sense that it was something that, actually it's quite ironic, because I met him at a friend's child's first birthday party, and my friend was a single mum. And she's a friend of a friend, and I actually went to this party to go and support her because I thought it's her child's first birthday. She's a single mum. So even before I was a single mum, I've always had sympathy for and always felt that it was a very difficult thing to have to be. And so there is an irony there that's where I then met my partner, and then ended up being. But well, I mean, it's one of those things that it is hard, and I don't think it's so much the practical stuff actually, because you do cope with that, and in some respects
women are brilliant at that, aren't they?
Yeah,
really?
And actually it's possibly in some ways easier in the sense of you're only dealing with one child, not no, but you're only having to no, but you are. I think practically it can be. You know, you can get into your sort of own routine of how you do things.
Yeah.
For me, it isn't, particularly as he gets older. It's not the practical stuff. What it is, it's the companionship and it's the emotional sort of support of. I mean, silly things. If they're ill in the middle of the night, if it's 2 a.m. and they're ill, it's that call of, do I phone up the hospital? Do I go to hospital? It's having somebody to sort of say, what do you think?
Yeah,
it's taking that responsibility with somebody. That's what I've found the most difficult.
Pressure, isn't it?
Well, it's your call. You know, I know it sounds silly, but if anything were to happen, it's entirely your fault, isn't it then? Whereas if you're with somebody, if your partner's there and you're doing that, it's those little things that, again, that's not the obvious stuff. But when the dust settles, those little things are the things that, you know.
But you got through it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, you just do. And it's one of those things that at the time, it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. And you think at the time that you're never going to get through it or feel happy or whatever, but you do, and it's time.
This is key what you're saying now, because I know there are people sitting watching right now that are thinking, my God, I feel so awful. Is this going to be my life for good? Am I ever going to feel happy again?
Yes.
And it's such a horrible, daunting kind of thought. And you think, oh my God, is this how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life? But it doesn't last.
No.
It seems like it's lasting forever because obviously when you're feeling that way, it feels horrible and it does seem like it's going on forever, but it doesn't last because you can pull yourself out of it and you've got support around you as well.
Absolutely.
There's you can turn to family, you can turn to friends, there's counselling, there's charities, organisations that can help as well. Chocolate.
And chick flicks.
Yeah,
chick flicks. Yeah, that's my no, just go and get lots of chocolate and lots of girly films and soppy songs and cry and all the things that we all do anyway with I mean, it's a breakup, it's the same thing, but I think the nice thing is that you have got something to get up for and to carry on for, and you just, you know, you get over it, and it's horrible and it's sad, but it's becoming much more, unfortunately, much more the norm. But it's part of our lives now, and I think as long as the children are kept, you know, away from too much of your, you know, if you can keep happy for the kids and keep things going and everything, then. You just do, and I've got a friend of mine at the moment who's going through a divorce, and she's got 2 young kids, and I just I can hear in her voice where I can feel her pain, but I know that she will get through it and be fine.
I'm sure you're helping her with that.
Well, I'm trying to, you know.
But you know what? Sometimes even if just knowing that someone's there that understands you is sometimes all you want to do, all you want. You just want that person around you, and you don't really. Sometimes you don't want to talk about it.
No.
Some people love talking about it, and they want to cry and everything. Others will just keep it in and say, "No, I don't want to talk. I just want you just next to me because I know you understand me." Kind of thing.
Well,
so even that helps.
I tell you what, I would say to anybody that knows anybody in this situation, I would say that, you know, the one thing that people do is that people tend to say, well, I'm okay and I don't need any help, and practically they don't. But actually, one of my very, very good friends just used to come round and she'd bring a real girly book for me and some chocolate and some wine, and she's just come over and sit with me for a couple of hours and was there and would send me silly texts and stuff. And it's things, you know, that's what I'm trying to do now to my friend that's going through this. It's just it's a distraction, you know. But
we've really gone off into something else, haven't we? It's good. No, but it's good. You know, we were kind of expecting to sit here and talk, you know, more about sort of the career side, the business side. But all this is important because sometimes these kind of feelings that a person goes through, actually, they don't have that energy to even get up and maybe look for a job or go back to work or start their business. All this they need to get over first. They need to get that strength back.
You do, and I actually think the thing is that I I did go back to work for a period of time, and then I kind of sort of cooled off, and I was a bit on and off. But I have to say that once you've got your strength back and you're through it, and that's not just the separation, that's also having a child, you know, and it's difficult being sleep deprived and stuff, and it is hard, but you do get back to being you again, and that's an amazing feeling, and you know that I am now back to being who I was before I had the baby.
Would you say you're stronger?
Yeah, and you know the thing is that you're more confident as well in a way, because you just, I don't mean in a bad way, but you don't care so much what people sort of think. You're more sort of solid and sure about who you are, and
it's not all about you anymore, is it? It's about another human being now, isn't it?
No. Yeah. But you don't sort of, you're less sensitive, and just, I think you're more relaxed about things as well, and you're just, and braver as well. I think, you know, I feel that I'm much more brave than I've ever, because I don't know, it changes you, but in a good way, having a child, and for work as well. You know, you then, I think it adds to a woman, you know, having it's another huge dimension and part of you that you've then got that actually changes you forever, and you know.
Tabitha, you're going to stay on with us because we're also going to be joined by Mariam as well, who's also a single mum, and she's also going to be sharing her experiences. We are going to talk about the sort of the work balance as well afterwards. If we feel like it, you know, we can just change the whole show. It's fine, because I'm quite enjoying this topic. It's interesting. So join us after this break, and we're going to be speaking to Mariam as well, who's going to join us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Well, we had Tabitha on the first part of the show, and I really loved what she was talking about, because even though we had sort of planned to talk about the career side of things, but there are things that can get in the way of that. So if you are, for example, going for a breakup at the moment, or you're feeling overwhelmed, how are you even going to think about a career or going back to work when you feel that way? It's important to, you know, you need to help yourself first. You need to get over all those emotions and things that you're going through first before you can even think of taking the next step. So I'm really glad that she shared that with us, even though we weren't planning it, were we? But we've also now joined by Mariam, who's going to be telling us also her story, aren't you? You've been on before a while back, but now we're here to talk about something completely different, aren't we? So you're also a single mum.
I am. Yes.
Was your pregnancy planned?
No, it wasn't planned. Okay. But I recently got married, so it wasn't an issue when we found out I was pregnant. Okay,
but were you kind of? Would you say you were ready, or is that there was no such thing as being ready for a child?
I don't think you can be ready. I was quite young. I was 23 at the time, so I was ready in the sense that I thought I was in a secure relationship and we were married, but no, I don't think I was ready. You know, 23 is pretty young to have a baby. Yeah.
And you were working at the time?
I was working.
How was your career and stuff going?
My career was really good. I was actually a manager at a bank that I'd been working for sort of the previous 8 years. Similar to yourself, I sort of, whilst I was pregnant, I worked right up to the end. And then I took 3 months maternity leave. And went straight back to work full time, but we had split up during that 3 month period. Yeah, so, and I can really relate to some of the things that you said, but I think the best thing I did was actually go back to work, because it got me out of that whole feeling sorry for yourself, oh my God, what am I going to do? And yeah, got me back into work and back in front of the colleagues and going out a little bit and things like that. So yeah, it was really good.
Tabitha, how long were you off work for?
Well, on and off, actually. I mean, I have only sort of gone back properly now that he started school, but I was working sort of part-time. Okay. But I did have, I would say the first year that I was not working at all. So it's quite different. I mean, that's to go back when they're 3 months old, because you're sleep deprived at that point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I sort of felt as though I didn't have a choice, because you know, me and my partner split up, and the first thing that I thought bizarrely was I need money. I need to be able to provide, and I think that's
so he
what
wasn't providing at that point.
No, well, no. and he hasn't done since. So I think that was the reason I went back to work. But I was very fortunate because I did have quite a nice network of family around me, so it enabled me to do that. But as I said, it was the best thing that I did, because the first 3 months, it's, you know, I think you mentioned you have a baby, you can't really prepare for it. I remember coming home from the hospital and wanting to go out and then thinking, I can't now. You know, you physically don't, you can't contemplate and having those feelings. And then when we separated, it was just, oh my God, what on earth am I going to do? There was absolutely no way in this world I would have thought that, you know, we would split up.
It was supposed to be a happy time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, new baby.
Yeah.
You just thought it's everybody else. It happens to everyone else. It's not going to happen to me.
Do you know, I was exactly the same. I honestly, really, I just thought, well, this is... It didn't enter my... I have to say, I'm still quite amazed that I'm a single mum. It's awful, but you don't know.
It happens to other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the first period of... Well, whilst I was back at work, it was, how am I going to cope? What am I going to do? How long am I going to be working for? And I used to work quite long hours. But slowly, you get used to it. And I think, as you said again, you systematically start going through life, and the day-to-day functional things are easy to go through. It's the emotional element of it. And I had a massive, massive issue with the whole guilty feeling of not being around, and I'm constantly at work.
Who was looking after you?
My mum.
Okay.
My wonderful mum, yeah. My mum sort of just stepped in. But really, since then, it's been a combination of friends, relatives, well, my mum specifically, but also, you know, mums at school, you know, they're a great help, you know. And having worked throughout the last 9 years, Donya's 9 now, has meant that there are, you know, I have been occasionally late to school, but that's a price you sort of pay for being a single mum and keeping your career. And I don't think any of those sorts of things are the end of the world.
No.
And she knows it, you know, she's grown up with it, and, you know, she wants to have all those nice things, and it's, you balance it.
How did you actually feel at the time when you did break up? You weren't expecting it.
No.
It happened, and talk us through some of the things that you were thinking, that you went through. How did you manage to actually pick yourself up and carry on, basically? Because a lot of people at that point, they just want to give up.
Well, I think I did. And, you know, as I said, the first month or so when I was at work, it was just, you just completely bewildered as to, you know, how am I going to cope long term? And I think it's just finding your inner strength within. And I think, as I said, the best step that I made was going into work. I think once you've made that initial first step of, you know, if you're out of work, applying for a job or going back into the environment, it does get easier. And you fall into the routine. So it's just finding that inner strength, and I had a lot of it, fortunately.
You didn't even know it was there, did you?
No.
Okay. So how about sort of day-to-day at work? Were colleagues quite supportive of you? Did they kind of ask what was going on, or were they get themselves to themselves?
No, they were supportive, but it was a difficult time for me because I was sort of the branch manager. So, you know, you are responsible for the branch and for the people. And, you know, as, you know, in that particular environment, people would come to you with problems. And there were times that I just thought, you know what, I can't cope with this. But you pull through, you know, you put a face on, and you just plough through it.
That must have been really hard.
Yeah, it was. And I was young, I was 23. You know, if that was to happen to me now, it would be totally different, I think. Right. So yeah, it was tough times.
Okay. So we've both spoken about the emotional side of things and how you coped and everything. Now talk us through sort of the day-to-day lives of a working mum, now working single mums. What's it like sort of day-to-day? How do you cope with sort of organising your time, working and looking after your children? How does that work?
Well, I don't know about I don't organise. I just get on with it, really. I think...
really? You don't plan your day? Or anything?
Yeah, a little bit. That was said in jest. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that part of your life is organised for you anyway. You're into a routine. You know what time they have to go to school. You know what time they have to come home. And if they do any extracurricular activities outside school, it's almost organised. I mean, since I started my own business a couple of years ago, and that has definitely helped because I'm in charge of my own day now. You know, whereas when I was at work,
talk us through that actually. What happened? What made you decide to do that?
I just felt ready. It was 2 years ago. I'd been working in financial services for quite some time, and I just wanted to give it a try. I thought if I don't do it now, I'm never.
But that's brave though, because some single mums think, "There's no way I would ever try and start a business on my own. I don't have a partner. I'm on my own." That was a brave step of you.
Yeah, I mean, what I did is start it before I actually left my job.
Yeah.
And it was very, very small at the time, just to test to see whether this idea is possible. And then after a couple of months, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Can you talk us? What does the company actually do?
So it's an online marketing company providing client referrals for financial advisors. I'm also in the process of setting up a mortgage practice of my own as well.
Okay.
But at the time, yes, it was a brave move. I had saved up a little bit of money. I was fortunate enough to save up some cash. So, I could do it. But as I said, immediately, it was just so much easier for me in terms of time. I could go and pick her up whenever I wanted to, drop her off whenever I wanted to. So yeah, it was the best thing I have done.
Yeah.
Financially, it's been tougher because, as with any new business, you have good months, you have bad months. But I've learnt loads along the way, and I would recommend it to anybody. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. How about you, Tabitha? How has it been working and having a child to look after on your
Well, the business that I'm involved in is actually, it's a family business. My mother's set it up, so with my father years ago, and now it's just her involved and myself with the family. But so it's easier insofar as it's more flexible sort of working times. But having said that, there aren't the buffers of having sort of lots of other staff and stuff there. So and because it's your own business, I mean, you'll know again, you're taking more responsibility because it's your own thing, and you don't, when you're working for somebody else, you finish your job, you go home, you don't think about it. Whereas working for yourself, you're always on, you're always, you'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something. It's a different thing. But as you were saying, that you've got your school times where they have to be at school, and then their sort of activities, and you're fitting in amongst them. But all I would say is that the days just roll, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're so. I've never been so busy and so busy, and yet sort of not really even going out that much. It's just.
Yeah, how's social life for you girls now? Do you have a social life? Do you have me time?
I do, and
sure?
I think, well, yes,
Yeah,
and I
very
think
good.
that's been an important part.
What do you do with me time?
Socialise with friends
Oh, right.
generally, and I think that's a really important part. And as I said, I think as a mum, and I don't know about yourself, but I felt really guilty, and it's just getting over that guilt that you need a life as well. And as I said, I've been lucky in that I've had a network of friends and family around me. But yeah, it's those friendships that have kept me going more than anything else.
Okay. Do you have a social life, Tabitha?
I mean, I suppose I did have an amazing social life for a long time, and I don't have that sort of at the moment. But then I think a lot of my friends, I mean, we were saying I've done it quite late. Lots of my friends have done it quite late. So my friends at the moment are all sort of being newly happily married and having their second babies. And so all of my lot really actually are just sort of in that kind of perfect mode, and so I don't have anything like the social life I used to have. And again, I think that's quite difficult. It's circumstantial for me, but it just so happens that most people I know are incredibly successful at everything and also quite happily married. I mean,
But do you have time for yourself, though? Do you make time for yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you do. I mean, it's funny because not in the way that I did. I mean, things like, doing facials or looking after myself in that way. But then, I think that's me reprioritising. I read more. I kind of I'm more pampering in that sense.
Yeah.
It is harder, and particularly working, having a child, keeping them happy. The older they get, the more demanding in some respects it is.
Your priorities are completely different, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
it's not about you in the same way, is it?
Right, so if there are mums watching now, whether they're single mums or not, they're just feeling overwhelmed, but they have dreams to start a career, to start their own businesses, you've done as well. What advice would you give to them, do you think?
Do it. Just absolutely go for it. Because as I said, the important part is that you go back into the system. you know, and that you know, for self-esteem and confidence, for me anyway, that was the start of what, you know, of the spiral effect. And I think it's really, really important. Because you meet other people like yourself, you know, there are other people working out there that are single mums.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Okay, how about you, Tabitha? What would you say to them?
I suppose the only thing that I would say, and I think it's because I was 10, 11 years older having my first child, and I think you are different, you know, and I'm sort of 7, 8 years older than you now, and it's that I suppose the thing that I would say is that yes, absolutely do it and be brave and everything else. I do, having said that, think whether you're separated or not, to have some time and precious time with your child, and if you have separated, give yourself some time. I mean, there's no way I could have gone and done what you did, and maybe you had that strength at 23, but I wouldn't have been able to. I just would have been fired, quite frankly, because I was all over the place. And I have a huge amount of respect for you for doing that and going and doing when the baby's 3 months old. You know, I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that I had my mum. You know, someone that you could trust with a newborn baby.
Well, yeah, but it's just getting up and carrying on, going to work with a breakup.
But you got there in the end, Tabitha, didn't you? You did get there in the end.
No, but I'm just saying that it's, you know, it takes some people longer and stuff.
Yeah, it does. It depends on the person. You know, it depends on the support that you have.
Yes.
But the fact is, you can, you know, go out and do the things that you want to do. Some people might take longer. For others, they can. You know, they've got that support that they can do it immediately. But whatever the situation you're going through, the main thing is to remember that you can do it, okay? So the ladies are going to stay with us until after the break. So we're going to be speaking more about, say, if you do want to go back to work or start your own business, a few tips as well that we're going to share with you. And also we're going to be watching a video of 2 sisters, actually, single mums, who've also made it big for themselves. So join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. We're talking about successful single mums, and Barbara went to meet another 2 of them, so take a look at this.
I opened in September of last year, so I've been open now for about 15 weeks. I think I'm in my 15th week now.
Okay, and how many children do you have? Because I know you've got one over there, which is Robin.
I've got my youngest with me today. She comes in the shop on Monday afternoons. But I also have 3. Well, I have 3 in total, so two older ones.
So that's 3 children. So that must be was it quite hard to set up the business?
It was quite tricky. I'm being a bit of a neglectful mum at the moment, I guess, because, you know, I'm having to throw myself into work, and I'm working all hours of the day, so the kids just have to literally get on, get on themselves and give me a bit of space sometimes when I'm working at home.
So Jackie, one thing that you have in common with Diana is that you're actually sisters, and that you both are parents and you both sort of have your own jobs or own business. How do you find actually being a mum?
It's quite tough, especially when they're younger, because mine's 5. So it can be quite difficult, especially because I'm on my own, so just to do everything. But then at the same time, it's rewarding as well. You teach your child, and everything they know, they learn from you. So in that way, it's nice.
And have you had quite a lot of support, or as you said, has it been mostly the whole time on your own, looking after Abby and juggling this job that you're doing?
I mean, I have support of like my family and friends, so I'm quite lucky in that sense.
I've pretty much managed on my own. I do, well, their grandparents help out a little bit, but I'm pretty much juggling it all and just trying to fit it inside school hours.
So after having Abby, what gave you the inspiration to sort of go to college and get back into work and having a career?
Well, I think mainly I quite enjoy to learn new things. I've always had a creative passion, so I just really just wanted to do it. It's just something I really just felt I wanted to do.
So, you know, you started off doing the beauty and the massaging, and now you want to do like sort of sport therapy. That's great. You've almost like progressed, and you're sort of developing a career and going on to different like tangents. Where would you like to see yourself with your work and stuff in the near future?
Well, I'd like to think that possibly, because I'm doing the sports massage, that I'll be on the level where I can run alongside a physio.
So what would you say to any mums out there who just had children now, or even they've got older children, that maybe once had goals and dreams, but they sort of lost all that hope after having children? What would you say to maybe give them a bit of belief in themselves or hope they could do it?
Well, I think really the most important thing is to follow your dream. If you have a gut feel about something, you should really just go for it. Sometimes you have to just jump in.
Well, I think if they did have dreams and they've sort of lost it, or they put it aside because of their children, then they should try and go for it, again. Or even if it's like impossible, if their children are too young, when they get older, like readdress that dream that you wanted, because if you really want it, you can go and get anything.
If you really want it, you can go and get anything. What do you think, ladies?
Yeah, no, I think there is definitely truth in that. Yeah.
So those are two sisters. They've actually set up a shop selling second-hand children's things. So that's a brilliant idea, isn't it?
Yeah,
especially for those strapped for cash. It's not easy for a lot of mums, especially if they are single mums, and finances are tight and they've left work and stuff. So I think it's a great idea. So obviously they're coming from the point of view because they understand what mums feel like and with the things that they go through. So all credit to them. I think they're doing really, really great. Okay, so now we're going to have a few points now. So if you are a mum that's a new mum and now you do want to go back to work, or maybe you've been out of work for a while because you've maybe lost your confidence a bit, you're a bit scared to go back into the workplace, there are a few tips that we'd like to give, and I'd like to get your opinion as well on this. So I've written a few things down here. Now I know sometimes from people that I've spoken to, mums that I know, when women have babies, sometimes they kind of forget who they were before. So if you were the kind of person that was very organised or very fiery, and you could maybe go into a meeting and sales meeting and sell anything, and you were really like into that kind of, how do I say, those skills that you had before, you could sell anything, you can stand in front of people and talk, and now all of a sudden the thought of that it seems really daunting for you. It's because you haven't done it for a while, because at the end of the day, the longer you stay away from doing something, the harder it is to get back into it. It's like exercise, for example. If you haven't exercised for a long time and you try and get back into it, it's quite hard. Even the thought of it kind of like exhausts you, doesn't it? So it's the same principle applies here. Because you've been not doing it for so long, it doesn't mean that those skills aren't there anymore. It doesn't mean that you can't do that anymore. It's just that you need to get back into it. I don't know if you've been through that as well when you went back to work.
Yeah, I think because, that's one of the reasons I think I was able to get back into it quite quickly, was because I did so after 3 months. And I think you're absolutely right, it is harder if you leave quite a big gap. But I think it's important to almost pre-plan that. If you are pregnant, it's just sort of have in your mind, maybe go back 1 day a week, 2 days a week, and have that conversation with your employers, and maybe...
Did you find it hard to did you kind of bounce back to your old self, or?
You become somebody else's mummy, so you're not you're not Tabitha anymore. You're suddenly sort of Hugh's mummy or whatever, and on that basis, you're sort of you change because suddenly you're a mummy and you're not this sort of girl in that way, and it does. Yeah, it does take a while, but I think you're really right. I think if you've gained skills, if you've had confidence, if you've been a certain way, it's there, and it will always be there. And actually, nothing and nobody can take that away. It's just a question of going back and just self-belief, really, and actually just throw yourself in and do it, because it'll come back. It's like any of these things, actually.
Yeah, even if you have completely lost your confidence, because at the end of the day, people aren't born confident.
No.
It's something that they learn. It's a skill that you learn
Yes.
by practicing things, by, you know, going out there and doing things. That's how you build your confidence. So even if you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't, even the thought of it makes me feel sick. But like you said, Mariam, you can actually go back one day a week just to get back into it.
Yeah.
You can even think of doing volunteering. So if you're not ready to actually go back in that formal working environment or starting a business, go and volunteer somewhere like one day a week. Get back into sort of, you know, being around other people, working with other people, but you haven't got that pressure that it's a job, that it's, you know, you have your responsibilities. It's not going to be so much pressure for you, but just to get you back into it a bit.
Yeah, I think something we haven't touched on actually is postnatal depression, and I suffered severe postnatal depression after I had my daughter.
What's that like? Can you tell us about
It's awful. I mean, you're a different person, but the funny thing is I didn't realise at the time. It's only years later that I thought, when I started reading about it and sort of some of my friends were talking about it, I realised, my God, during that period, that is exactly what I was going through. Just tearful, a little bit lost, all of those things that you kind of say it's part of having a baby, but no, actually a lot of women go through it. Some have it more severely than others. And it's recognising that as well, and just going to your GP and talking about it and realising that actually, that, you know, and normally what will happen is over a period of time that does disappear.
Yeah.
But it's just recognising it. And for me, fortunately enough, I didn't even know that was happening, but I think the colleagues around me, it really helped just being around people.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think human contact, and I think being in environments where you feel safe, and also, as you said, maybe doing part-time work, volunteering work, that kind of thing, just dipping your toe in gently. But I mean, you don't have to rush these things. I mean, that's the only thing I would say. I think now society is so keen for us to have it all. And actually the thing is that, you know, you've had a baby. You don't, you know, whether you're with somebody or not with somebody, or single or not, you know, give yourself a break. You know, if you've put on weight, don't rush to lose it. If you want to veg out and just watch your baby, you know, I don't know.
I mean, if you go back, if you don't have to work, for example, and you want to stay home, there's nothing wrong with that. If your woman wants to stay at home, that's fine.
I think that's the thing. I think I've got friends, and I know women who don't have to financially go back to work, but I think women feel very pressured now, and that they'll be judged if they don't. And I think that's a very important thing, that actually, if you don't, whatever your circumstances, if you really want to be just a mum, then that is a huge job as well, and it's you know, a very rewarding one. You know, so it's
definitely.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about skills, because sometimes I think the reason why some mums do lose their confidence a bit is that they forget what they're actually good at.
Yeah.
And when they're sort of doing this, putting their CV together, and they've got that gap where they haven't worked, for example, say if they're not going to go back to the same company that they were working for before, they've got this gap, and then they're thinking, oh my God, what do I write during what I was doing? I've just been at home, I've just had a baby, or I've just been a mum. We haven't just been a mum, because mum entails so many skills, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like organising, responsibility. You've got so much that you have to do. You have to think about the financial side of things. Those are all skills. So
Patience.
I think exactly,
Patience, huge thing.
So all these things you can still put in your CV. Okay, I was at home for 3 years or 5 years, but during this time I've managed a household, I've done this, I've done that. And so even in an interview, don't sort of think, oh, that's not good enough to talk about. It is good enough, because being a mum is a hard job, from what I hear, and from seeing my own mum, the way she used to deal with things. So use that to your advantage. Talk about the things that you've been through. And I think, to be honest, if I was an employee, if I was interviewing someone, I would much rather have a mum that, you know, that's very honest, that talks about things that she's done at home, rather than someone that's so full of themselves and thinks that they've you know, the greatest thing in the world. I'd prefer to talk to someone genuine and employ that kind of person, rather than someone that thinks they know it all and do you understand what I mean?
I think it's your point that you made earlier. It's you know, as a new mum, even just doing anything, even volunteering, that could translate in an interview that you can demonstrate what you've done. That's really important. Yeah, being a mum is tough. Full-time mum is really tough, and
I think it's definitely harder than work.
Yeah,
I do.
I think
I do. So less thanks.
But you should actually, I really think you should, I know it's something to say write your skills down, but actually take the time, just sit down for 15 minutes and actually get a piece of paper and write the things down, because you'll be surprised. And if you have to ask someone as well, because I did this once, a friend kind of challenged me to write 27 qualities, because she did it and she thought it's really good. So I found it I got to 10 and then I got stuck. And then I asked my husband, he goes, okay, well, you're good at this, you've got that quality. And I ended up with quite a long list at the end of the day. So I asked people, there's things maybe that you don't realise about yourself, that you have these qualities about yourself. But if you ask your friends, ask like whoever's close to your family, you've actually come up with quite a long list, and that will boost your confidence as well. I don't know if you've ever done that exercise. Have you written down your qualities?
Yeah, that is lots.
I thought it was 10 back in the day. Wasn't it 10?
I don't know why my friend said 27, but she just said, but still, you know, you can end up with a really long list.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the looks as well. Both look at me like, what? Now, so I know sometimes as well, like mums can feel a bit, like you said, you know, maybe they've put on a bit of weight and they start to feel really badly, but that doesn't matter. Even if you have put on weight, it doesn't mean that you can't look after yourself still. You can still look nice. And I think that's important as well, to kind of, because maybe you look at yourself in the mirror and thinking, oh my God, look at me, I can't go back to work like this. But I think it's important to take some time to invest in yourself as well. If you need to buy new clothes, or, I don't know, just take some time, because you're still a woman at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You're not just a mum, you're a woman as well. Did you find did that kind of area suffer a bit, do you think?
I think it does. I think I've definitely become less vain and less interested in how I look, and I don't feel as judged, and because there's a sort of security from being a mum as well, and you're doing something much more important than making sure that you look okay. But I was also surprised, because I thought, you know, you had your baby, you became a mum, and that you sort of, you changed and became a mum, and that you lost interest in sort of, you know, romance and all of that side of life, and that you just were a mummy now. And actually, you know, you don't change that much, and you are still who you are, and you still have the same silly dreams. We were talking about it earlier, and romantic dreams and notions and feelings of you know, wanting to be loved still and fall in love and look pretty and you know, kind of whatever it may be, I don't know. You still have that, and again, that surprised me how much that part of me didn't change. You know, and how
it's important. It's an important part of your life, isn't it? You can't just sort of throw it out the window. And that also, like, because you have that side, a woman has that side to her as well. If you try and if you do neglect, if it does get neglected, that can take away from the confidence as well.
It's all about your self-esteem, isn't it? And that's a massive, you know, you walk out of the hairdressers and you feel good. You know, it's just one of those things. So yeah, definitely.
Now, you both spoke that you have sort of a support network around you, but I know there are maybe mums watching that don't have that. They don't have family close to them. They don't have people around them. Maybe they don't have many friends that they can depend on. So obviously it doesn't mean for you like there's no hope, because this is where like great charities can come can help, because there are organisations, there are charities, there are support groups that you can go to. You can even go to GP, they probably know some. If you want to email me as well, I can put you in touch with some people. But the main thing is that you, even though you might feel that you're alone and everything, you're not, because there are always people that are willing to help, but it just takes for the person to actually open up and say that they need help. So don't try and cope with everything on your own. There's financial help out there. There's all sorts of things that that can help you. So if you do want more information about that, you can email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. Well, I hope we've inspired you tonight with the stories that you've heard here, and that, you know, you are human at the end of the day, because I think you've both shared some sort of personal things that you went through, which I thought was great that you did share that, because I know there's people at home that have related to that, but also showing that you can do it.
Yeah,
right?
do it.
You're just going to give it. Just do it. Start your business, do it. So thanks very much, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll see you again next time on the Chrissy B Show. And if you
want
more
information.
Can you do a big shout
for Hugh, by the way?
Oh yes, let's give the shout outs. Go ahead.
Where am I going to?
Camera here. This one
Hugh,
here.
Mummy says hello.
Donya, Mummy says hi.
Oh, hi. All right, so that's it for today, folks. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.